Well, here we are, Sunday afternoon. I've got a wooden block on my bench here, and I've had this wooden block for a very long time, and it's been sitting in my study actually. I use it as a doorstop, and I thought it was about time I had a look and see what was going on inside it, because even if it's an ornament, which it is now, I like things to work properly. And time was when wooden blocks were anything but an ornament for me. I rigged Western Man my 42-foot pilot cutter pilot cutter replica really, that I built from new. And she was absolutely traditional, and we rigged her all as she should be with wooden blocks. And do you know, there were 55 wooden blocks in that rig, 55! My goodness me. And we used to service them out the back of the shed here. I've got a photo here, I'll just put it up and show you. Ros used to do that. She used to hang them all up outside. I used to drive the pins out and do the servicing, which I'm going to do on this one in a minute and show you how it works. And then she used to oil them all up so that they gleamed as if they were varnished. And back on they went. They'd be all right for a year or two after that. And then off they came again for more of it. I tell you what, you know, I used to sit on that boat sometimes in a marina or alongside a dock, and the boat was gleaming. She was really nice. We were young people and we kept her really well. And every now and again people would walk past, and the quality people would say, God, that's a lovely boat, that must bring you a lot of joy. And you'd say, yeah, it is. And you'd tell them about the boat and what she was. But every now and again somebody would come past, some clever guy, there's always one, isn't there? And he'd sort of look at you sneeringly and say, whoa, looks like a lot of work. And it was a lot of work, but as I was tempted to say once, more work than you're good for, mate. But the fact of the matter was, the more you put into the boat, the more you got out. And those wooden blocks were a great joy to us. This great big thing here, I mean, I tell you what, lifting it up is a serious matter. I've got to tell you how I came by this block before I start to strip it down. Years ago, God knows how long, back in the 1980s, I was going to a party in the island of Anguilla. And my boat was in the Virgin Islands, which was about, I don't know how far to leeward, about 60, 70 miles to leeward of Anguilla. Dead to leeward, with the trade wind roaring down there at Christmas winds, blowing like the clappers, the current doing 2 knots down to leeward. And I'm in a 1911 35-ton pilot cutter, 51 feet on deck, entirely rigged with wooden blocks, engine not worth a toss, really more like an egg whisk hung onto a propeller at the back. And we had to beat back up because we were going to the birthday party of Marguerite, which was another pilot cutter, and I don't know when she was built, a very long time ago, I think in the 1890s, and she was a famous boat too. So Herta and Marguerite were going to raft up for this party, and we had to get back there, and it was a killer of a trip, absolute killer. I mean, my mate was thrown out of the pilot berth and ended up on the chart table. The motion was so extreme, and that's in the most comfortable boat ever devised by man. But we got there, and we had a grand party. I can't tell you about that because half of it was illegal, I think, but we had a great time. And at the end of it all, Les, the owner of Marguerite, and I were shooting the breeze a couple of days after the party and talking about things. And I said, you know, Les, I'm a bit short of blocks. Some of my blocks have taken a pounding in the North Atlantic. We'd just come down from Greenland and it wasn't too good. And he said, well, I've got just the thing for you. He said, I've turned my shed out, because he lived there. So I turned my shed out, and I've got all these blocks. He said, what you got for me? And I scratched my head, and I said, I'll tell you what I got, Les. I just bought 60 litres of cruising rum. How would you like 20 litres of rum to get you through the winter? He rubbed his hands, he said, that'll do nicely. So out came the blocks, and I didn't tell him I'd bought the rum for $1 a bottle, because that would have been unkind. It would have made his eyes water. But that's what we did. So we did the trade. The blocks went on the boat, and they were beautiful. Absolutely lovely. We varnished them up and they were grand. And one of them was really too big. It was too heavy. This is an old stevedore block, I think, from the East End of London. How Les ended up with it, I don't know, because if you put this up at the mast, the boat would capsize. But it's the right size, but it's just very heavy. Anyway, that's how I came by it, and it went in the bottom of the boat, and it sailed the seas with me, and in due course I cast my anchor here, and this is where I live. And the block came ashore, and as I say, it works as a doorstop now in my study. And every time I look at it, I think of Les, and I think of that terrible beat across the Anegada Passage. But what I'm going to do now, so that the people who have nothing to do with wooden boats and don't know about wooden blocks, but are interested in what we do, can see how these things really work. I'm going to strip it down and do what we used to do, me and Ros, every year or every other year with the blocks on all of our boats. We're going to take the pin out, we're going to take the sheaves out, and we're going to get them cleaned up and see what's really going on in there. Well, I've got my toolkit. Look, I've got a dirty rag, I've got a cleaner rag, I've got a Boatwright's maul, proper hammer. I haven't got a really good drift actually at the moment. They're on the boat, but I've got a bit of a drift there. That's a proper stiff drift. That'll get it moving, I think, with a bit of luck. And if I need another one to help it out, I haven't got one, so I'm going to help it on its way with this old beaten up masonry bit. That'll do. I also need a screwdriver because the block has got a plate over the end of the pin. So we'll have a look at that now. So we turn it over and then there's the plate. Now that's covering the end of the pin, and we've got to take that off now. And let's see how the screws are. Oh, beautiful. Look at that. Coming out like they were new. We just put that one safely over there so we don't lose it, because they're precious things, these. They're probably bronze. Out they come. Here they come. That's the last one. And now we should be able to lift the plate off. Give it a little, help it along a bit with my old knife. And there she goes. Ah! And there is the pin. Here's the plate, look. It's got all sorts of information on here, which probably means a lot to a stevedore, but it doesn't mean much to me. It's got safe working loads, 1 ton and 1800 weight, I think. A patent number, all sorts of things. Rather nice. So we'll put that up there with the screws out of the way. Now look at this pin. I'm glad we found a square pin on this side, because that means that this is an absolutely conventional block. On the other side, whoa, is a round pin. And it's quite simple taking the block apart now. All we have to do is get that pin out, and it goes out towards the square end, not towards the round end. The square end doesn't want to go through the hole, really. It's obvious when you think about it. And all we have to do to get it through is literally knock it out with a hammer. So we need somewhere for the pin to disappear into while we're knocking it out, because it's quite heavy. And I'm lucky because I've got this workbench here with a middle that comes out. What do you think of that? Not bad, eh? And I can put the block across it like so. It's nice and solid. And then I can get my maul and I can start to drive that pin out. It's quite simple. Just put my drift in the middle and give it a sharp tap. See what happens. It felt as if it moved. It had a nice solid feel. The hammer didn't bounce. And again, feels good. Yeah, it's on its way. Careful I don't drive the drift cockeyed. Okay, oh, it's going beautifully now, and I'm running out of drift. So I'm going to get rid of my little strong drift, and I'm going to put my Mickey Mouse old beaten up drill bit in there. I think that's going to work fine. I don't have to really welly the hammer. It's going out beautifully. Sweet as a nut. And this has not been out of here since I got this block off Les in 1984. There she goes. I think it's coming out. I might be able to pull it now. Yeah. And there we are. We got it in our hand. Look at that hoary old beast. That is ready for some service, but it's great. Look, there's very little wear, a little bit of wear where the sheaves have been, but not too badly. So that's that. And now we're going to have a look at one of the sheaves and see what they're made. Look at that. Beautiful bronze sheave, and it's a patent sheave. It's got patent bearings here. Look. They're in a right old state. They've got ancient grease from that's probably pre-World War II, that grease. So what we're going to do, we're going to get all those sheaves out, and they just come out like that. Lovely. And we're going to clean them up now in my magic bath with good old paraffin. Okay, here we go. So let's get hold of sheave number 1. It's a nice, lovely thing. It's really meaty. There's some weight in that. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it in this useful bowl here, and I'm going to chuck some paraffin on top of it. Now, paraffin, or kerosene if you're in America, and of that persuasion, is great for moving old grease and stuff. We used to use it on bicycle chains in the old days. So we'll tip a bit of that in there. It's great stuff, paraffin. It's exactly the same stuff as I use on my riding light to keep things good. And now I can dip my toothbrush in and give it a good old cheer up. And we're going to try and get as much crud out of here as we can, really. And put it right in the paraffin and slosh it all around. Turn it over. Trick is not to drop it because it doesn't half. Oh yeah, it's moving around now. It's great. Well, I'm going to put my finger in there and see how well it's turning. Yeah, it's turning nicely. It's good. I think we've probably got a result. I can feel the bearings turning under my finger. I don't know whether you can see them in there, but they're all in there. And I think that one's done. So that's good. So we'll take that out, put it on my trusty rag here. I've got two rags. I've got a filthy one, which has served its purpose for all sorts of things. And I've got a nice clean one over there, which I'm going to finish off with. But for starters, we'll put it on here and dry it up a bit. Look at that. What a lovely piece of stuff. Isn't that gorgeous? I know they're all very nice, that you modern blocks that you get with all these sheaves that you can see, and they're very sexy, and we know they work well, but God, what a lovely thing that is. It's just so much nicer to have it in your hands than the new ones. Okay, so that's, I think that's clean in there. Yeah, it is really. Good. Okay, so that one is ready to put back in, and we're going to start work on the others. And when we're all finished, I'm going to grease them up with a little bit of grease, not too much, otherwise they'll clog up again, and put it all back together. Right, good. Okay, so a little dab of grease. We've got two of them already clean and are in there. A little bit of grease on my finger here. Come on. That's it. We don't need much. Just a little bit to just help it along. A bit more perhaps. And roll it round. Turn the whole thing round so that it goes right round all the rollers. And then that one's ready to go in too. Put the grease out of the way, wipe my finger off. And just wanted to show you this. I've got the bottom two sheaves in already. And the way I'm getting them in, I'm using this little light, and I pop that underneath and I line it all up, and I can see right up the hole there perfectly. So if I pop the top sheave in, I can see, and there it goes, it's covering the hole now, and now it looks like, I think that's about it. There's one down there, not quite right. No, that's not that one. Must be the middle one. That'll do. Okay, I think that's probably near enough, so let's see what's going to happen now. We'll put the pin back in now. Okay, where's the pin? Nicely cleaned up. Just a little smear of grease on it, just to help it on its way and deter the water. This is all water resistant grease. And there we are. Where's my rag? And we drop him in with the pin square. In it goes so far. I'm going to give it a gentle tap with the hammer. There it goes. God, it's going in so sweetly now. And we'll tap it firmly down, not too aggressively, till the pin is right down in the hole. So now we put our lovely plate back on, which will serve to hold it all together nicely. Put the screws in gently and then tie them in with the screwdriver. I probably should have mentioned that if we were doing this for real and this block was going out to the boat, it would have been thoroughly oiled before we put the sheaves back in. And the oiling process, we used to use a Norwegian product called Varnol, which I think you can probably still get if you search diligently. I actually used to buy it in 5-gallon drums in Norway, in Bergen, for practically nothing. But times have moved on, and I think nowadays I'd probably use D1 and D2 from Dexolia, from Oatrol. But anyway, whatever you use, you've got to use something, because the blocks have got to look as beautiful as they can. They're lovely things. And there we are, all serviced, ready to go back behind my study door. And as they say in Yorkshire, jobs are good 'un, lads.